Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the CEO briefing. And I'm excited to have a very important guest tonight, a mystery guest, and you'll be finding out all about it in a few moments. So while people are arriving, I'm going to do the honors here and quickly show you the usual. And here we are with Water's New Gold, helping you thrive in the world's only vital, scarce, and recession-proof market. And that's even more so based on some of the information that I'm going to give you tonight. Very, very, very critical stuff. Okay, so we have, of course, the ability with our excellent interpreter, Heather, real-time speaking what I'm saying in Spanish. And all you have to do is click on the globe below and you'll be able to switch languages. Of course, we have a forward-looking statement here where things we say are to our best of our ability, but of course the results or achievements may differ materially. We will constantly try to correct things and to make it as exact as possible. We like to say we are the most transparent public company in America. Okay, big news of the week, of course, a major utility, and I would love to tell you which one it is, but we can't do it until things have been installed, recently signed a master services agreement for 3 power plants, and it's massive. You know already that it is a total of about $5 million, and because you've been hearing about it on the show. And the first purchase order for the first power plant for 1.8 million has now been issued, and we are rolling. This is a picture of a very similar setup at, I believe, the Xcel Energy power plant that we built, to give you an idea of what these things look like. And of course, at the same time, Modular Water Systems achieved, far more in 1 week in June alone than it did in the entirety of last year. So that is completely incremental to what Progressive Water is doing. So that's excellent. And there's a little bit of technical stuff. Basically, power plants need ultra clean water, and it means that they go through ultrafiltration, the reverse osmosis, which is done to remove all possible minerals and so forth. And then electrodeionization is a way to achieve ultra pure water, for example, when you're making pharmaceuticals. So that's what we have here. And PWT was doing a lot of these power plants before. The same utility was serviced in 2015 for 2.3 million. And then in 2016, we did the Xcel Energy contract. And then there was a power plant also in the Northeast, as well as the Otter Tail Power Company at its Coyote Station in Beulah, North Dakota. So we're back to this in a big way, which is really great news. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to cover, I was on Wednesday, I was on a seminar at World Water Week. It was water in health and climate crises. The bottom right, you see, I'm not going to get into it very much, but this is from the plenary session where there is so much going on in water imbalances. So, too much water in one place, not enough water in another, ice sheet loss occurring in the north and the south, groundwater depletion, recovering from drought, surface water drying. I'm reading all these different things, decline of the Caspian Sea. There's just a tremendous number of problems that are being dealt with. And that is, of course, what's the big deal. This is me on the show, and there will be an excerpt of what my presentation, I made about a 10-minute presentation, and we're going to excerpt it once I get the recording from World Water Week. But here are a couple slides. Microsoft presented some highlights of what's going on, and we know this is that almost impossible heat wave in the Pacific Northwest, Colorado River at an all-time low, and Germany with floods, and up to 9 times more likely to occur because of today's climate. So that's the problem. Microsoft again talked about how we want to create really good platforms to share water data, and that we have to do it in a sustainable, collaborative business plan. And then also there has to be real-time credible water data. So that was very important. Now, I wanted to also show you some slides from a presentation by the CEO of Argyam, and this is an amazing little, well, not little, they're a great non-governmental organization in India that puts out small grants to allow local Indians to do things like build check dams in rice paddies and so forth, which transform the local villages' economics. And they're using all these digital tools to basically, the plans get made, then they get vetted and approved and then funded. And there's a whole process here where they are working together to get these things done. And this is very much digitized. And they have this whole thing about how they've really made a really good job of reusing assets, of what they call liquidity, which is not a pun, but basically to allow assets to move around and also to be very accountable, which is a big problem in non-governmental organizations. And finally, participation. And participation is what we're talking about here with ClearAqua, which is we'll see something like Argyam. We want to be able to integrate Argyam into the ClearAqua community. So we don't want to be building all of the networks in the world. We want to have an open door to them all. And so that is the exciting thing. Before I go on to our mystery guest, Rick Garcia says, very great news indeed. And thank you, Rick, for joining us. All right, so I'm going to ask Mr. Rod Turner to join us. And he is the CEO and founder of Manhattan Street Capital. And I'm going to go off share for a moment, and he's going to pop in with his video.
Yeah, I'm looking for the right button to press. Why would I turn on the video, Rod? Where is it gone? Oh, I know where it is. It's very obvious. It's in the same place. It's very helpful.
Rod, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And in fact, Rod and I have known each other for some time. I think I even interviewed for a job at Mobile Automation, was it?
Yes, yes. That was probably 2000 or something, right around there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, you've become a kinder, gentler gentleman. You know that? Yes, you have. You've become kinder and gentler.
Good. I think that was probably necessary. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Rod is now the CEO and founder of Manhattan Street Capital. They're based, as the name does not indicate, they're based in San Diego, and they have got some. I'm going to do a couple slides to run through some of the things that they've been responsible for, and then we'll talk about what they might have to do with Origin Clear. So here they are, the #1 growth capital service for startup and mid-sized companies. What is this SPAC matchmaker?
Essentially, I did a favor for a friend to check out options around the SPAC space, and I found that today's internet makes it's nothing like as good as it used to be 8 or 10 years ago to find stuff. So I looked at it from both sides of the table. You know, companies looking to be acquired, companies that have funded SPACs to help them, and it was obvious that there's a serious need. So I did a quick survey of some of our CEOs on our list and got a resounding yes, please. So then we built the SPAC Finder Matchmaker. So it basically makes it easy to find funded SPACs, as we have over 300 of them now in the system. So it makes it easier to find target companies for the SPACs, the funded SPACs, and it makes it easier for companies that would like to be acquired to find a SPAC to buy them.
So a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition corporation, and they're basically a blank check company that are just sitting there with a pile of money. And as you know, as you said, there's way too many of them, and there's a glut. And of course, they're looking for deals. So that's a cool thing you've got. I also noticed you've had some good coverage in a variety of media, so that's excellent. Small publication like the Wall Street Journal, I've heard about that one. And then here's a very cool thing you did with Impossible Foods. How did this project go?
So it was surprisingly much more successful than I thought. So essentially, there was a small fund put together to buy shares from from investors that are shareholders in Impossible Foods but want to diversify, and assemble enough money in a little venture fund to buy those shares, and then essentially wait and hope for an IPO, which, given the scale of the company, is, one would think, rather likely. So what was interesting was, for us, this was the highest market cap we've raised money at, $3 billion pre-money.
Whoa.
And that was the price that the latest round of private equity money came in at. So you could justify going with a higher price, actually, if you were trying hard. So it was entertaining. The thing that was really interesting was that they really didn't have very much money, or hardly any money, just a good idea. And we put together an arrangement where all we did was promote it to our member base. And I told them going in that this is high risk, it's Reg D, we don't know if it's going to catch on. And it caught on big. I mean, from relative to what I thought, I thought we would be lucky to raise $500,000, but I think we raised 2.6 or something in 6 weeks. So I was very pleased with that, and frankly surprised.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. So that was a Reg D. Now that's for accredited investors only, Regulation D. You do a lot of Regulation A's. I've noticed, I've watched Golf Suites, and that's been a very successful launch, hasn't it?
Yes. So let me sort of put us in perspective, and maybe put myself in perspective here too. So I was an engineer an electrical engineer on a nuclear power station in the UK, having served an apprenticeship to do that. And then I got out of that field into computers because I wanted to progress more rapidly. Then I came here because I wanted better weather and to progress more rapidly. And then I got into startup companies. So I've had the good fortune to build 7 successful startup companies, of which I'm counting Manhattan Street Capital as one. We haven't tried to sell it or anything, but it's a successful business. The prior 6 all had liquid outcomes, 2 IPOs to the NASDAQ. One of those was Symantec, the Norton antivirus company. I ran the largest mergers into Symantec, which is the hardest part. Making a deal is relatively easy. Anyway, so I've got a lot of interesting experience. I did my own venture fund with a good friend of mine. We did our own venture fund and incubator during the first internet bubble. So a lot of relevant experience. So when Reg A Plus was announced in in April of 2015, it's a really well-written regulation. And there's a whole host of companies that can use this regulation. And in my view, Reg A Plus will, over time, reach, $50-60 billion a year capital raised scale. It's happening more slowly than I hoped and expected, but it is happening. It's growing nicely, especially this year. All crowd investing online has accelerated because of COVID, people getting bored, etc. So we've gone from about 2 years with no Reg A Plus IPOs to 3 of our clients doing Reg A Plus IPOs. So we may be the first to reopen that floodgate, which will be lovely, not the most important thing. But the caliber of companies that are working with us now is just so much better. I mean, than a year ago, than 2 years ago. It's just a wonderful thing. And that's what I've been aspiring to the whole time. But we're so fortunate to have fantastic companies signing up with us who are really making huge differences. And I count Origin Clear as one. I mean, the deal, the arrangement, the plan that you've built here, young man, Riggs, is super impressive. And I say young man in a affectionate way. My younger brother used to do that, still does that with me, so it's sort of stuck. Anyway, so we're a bit innovative in a regulated space. We figure out ways to do things better and differently than are being done elsewhere. We're more the boutique. We're not interested in scale for its own sake. We're interested in great successes for our companies and for the investors. That's it, those 2 goals. Everything else is subsidiary to those 2 goals. And it's fun. I enjoy innovating where I'm allowed to add value, and Riggs has been fantastic to work with in that regard. it's his company, and I've just been able to add value here and there, which makes it fun, and you know, sort of gets more ego in the game, I suppose. You know, I think we're going to be doing some really nifty stuff together with the company, with Rick's company. I count this as a phenomenal opportunity for us to make positive change. You know, I can't pitch any single investment, so I'm not. You know, I'm not
Of
a
course,
broker
and
dealer.
we're not asking you to be a pitch man.
Yes,
You're
this
a
isn't a
platform.
pitch, but
And this is why I brought up the page of what you do. You host the offerings, and then you project manage. And this is why now the reason why we came to you, Rod, and initially we were thinking of having you do a Regulation A offering, which is unaccredited investors. And we really realized that what we're trying to do here is the actually should be Regulation D, because we're trying to build these funded vehicles. They're almost SPACs themselves in a way. What they are is little subsidiaries that ultimately we could add up to about $300 million. At least that's what we've had set up as a plan. And what we're now we realized is that if we're going to do this to support the Water on Demand project, then probably we need to do it with accredited investors, higher net worth investors, and then of course you have a line into small funds, which are or family offices, home office. I mean, not home offices, family offices, and small funds that would be able to invest, several million, 10, 20 million at a time, as opposed to much smaller. So I think I'm looking back. I think that was the reason we went after Reg D. Am I right?
yeah, that there's a lot to this that you're not disclosing yet, which is good, probably, and appropriate, because you know what you're doing. But the market's changed dramatically. I think I touched on it earlier. We have a Reg A Plus offering where an institution approached them to put in 26 million. That happened in January or February. There's no way that would have happened a year before. There's no chance. So what's happened is that COVID has forced a lot of professionals who were really looking down their noses at this online investing game to get involved and see that it's actually a lot better than they realized, and to get it to now start to play actively in this space. So raising larger amounts of money online is now feasible, when before it was really a stretch. Not to say it's always difficult, not to say it's a walk in the park, but it's now much more realistic to do so. So we build that into the plan. As I said, our clients build those things into their plan. We advise them to make sure that the institutions are motivated and are treated specially, because they need to be, in order to make it more likely that they'll engage. But right now, especially because there's so much extra money floating about in the hands of big institutions, courtesy of all the liquidity the Fed has been pumping into the market, this is a good time to make a large raise, as long as it resonates, as long as it has the scale and potential to make it real. So that if you think about it from their point of view, they can see, like all of us, the market's getting over hot, and there's likely to be either a sideways period that's unbelievably long, or a crash, one or the other. Probably the crash, because that seems to be the way that the market tends to go. So they're putting more money into alternative investments, which will grow rapidly because of the nature of the investment, uncorrelated to the state of the market. And they have allocations for that, which are rather large, because they are themselves exceptionally rich in the first place. And now they have excessive money floating around to deploy.
Wow. And in fact, Keith Rutten, one of our stalwart investors, says, with everything happening now, it is apparent that OriginClear has burst onto the scene in the most important way, with the best forward-looking ideas imaginable. I could not write that copy myself. Beautiful. Thank you, Keith. And Stefan Davis says, in addition to OCLN, I am also an early pre-IPO investor in Impossible Foods. Rock on. So a lot of intersection of our investors here.
Well, they have a competitor, Beyond Meat, who's I haven't checked lately, but last time I did, their market cap was 13 billion. And these companies are much of a muchness in terms of market penetration, scale, product family. So that 3 billion market cap for that round was, you could justify it as being undervalued or relative to an IPO. But of course, that's the only reason that we could carry such a valuation in that case.
No, good little project you did there. So I agree, and there is this concern about where the market is going in terms of so much money floating out there and so forth, and what's going to happen. And this is why I think the market is moving towards asset type investments, right? Assets at least have some. This is why we have cryptomania. Real estate's doing well, and we have our own offering here, which is focused not so much on paying our bills, building the company per se, but rather buying water equipment that was then going to go out there and create usage revenues. That's the modeling down below here, where you put out these machines on a pay per gallon basis, and over 25 years they make a lot of money, and return a lot of money to the Series V investors, which is the ones that we're involving you with. So what's beautiful about this is that these subsidiaries allow the investor to capture the asset in case something goes wrong, which it will never will, of course. But these days, you want to plan for the worst to get the least, obviously.
I was describing to a good friend of mine who's been involved with my company for some time, gave a quick update, and I was describing some of the amazing companies that we're working with that are not yet live. Therefore, we don't disclose the situation publicly. And they are all, the three I told them about are radically great. I mean, really great companies. And the one that he latched onto with the most interest was a company that's making a hard product for which there's a huge need, and they have the exclusive rights and patents and so forth. So in its own way, it's a very similar thing to what I think we're doing here with Origin Clear. So his point was, because he's dealing in the capital markets all the time, he likes the fact that it's more tangible. He doesn't see the risk of I'm not looking at these companies the way he is with the same skepticism, because I'm dealing with the people and I know where they're really at and how deep they are. But it's easy to see how, a dinky startup doing something amazing technology-wise, which has the rights or the opportunity to really be revolutionary. Some institutions don't want to play with that until it's actually proven a bit further. They want to see it a little bit more meat on the bone, as it were. And they're looking for the material need to put lots of money into resources that are going to be assets and that are going to have a long life, and for which the markets are growing nicely uncorrelated to. The need for water isn't going to reduce anytime soon. It's going to grow because of the climate change situation. One hopes that gets under control, but until it does,
well, I fear that it's going to get worse before it's going to get better.
It will for sure,
because of inertia, because of momentum, and we have odd things like, for example, the air travel was actually creating a kind of a screen for greenhouse gases. With less air travel, we've actually had an increase in global temperatures. It's one of those counterintuitive things. But we know that there's a climate effect. We know that there's pollution. We know there's issues. And what I like about what you're doing, you're talking about how often institutions don't want to get involved, but you, because you're a crowdfunding platform, are bringing the ordinary investor into institutional grade opportunities like Impossible Foods. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I personally am privileged that you've, and by the way, you have taken a big haircut in your compensation in order to be an equity player. And that is tremendously appreciated. That way we're, able to redirect.
We're on the same team even more than we would have been.
It's unbelievable and so appreciated. So thank you. What I'm going to do, Rod, is I'm going to play, feel free to stick around or as you wish. I have a fascinating little short video to play from the World Economic Foundation that is going to freak people's minds. We're going to discuss what it means for the water industry.
I'm going to
So
leave. I'm going to leave because I'm not feeling too good today. I'm not at my best. I need to get some things done and relax, frankly. But thank you for involving me with you. It's been fun already. We're going to have fun with this, and I think we'll probably have great success. So it'll all unfold over time, and you guys on the call will know what we mean in a more complete manner at the right time. Good. Thank you. Thanks, Rix.
and already we've done amazing things bringing in the crypto developers, and now there's going to be a crypto focused agency. So
Mhm.
great things so far. You go relax. Thank you, Rod.
Thanks.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Good night.
All the best, and I hope this has been helpful to everyone.
Really cool. Really cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. We're going to continue now. That was a wonderful thing. And now what I'm going to play is a little video that I think is going to blow your mind. And it's actually, every time I watch it, it sends chills through me for reasons that you'll see after the COVID pandemic, what could happen. So what could happen after the COVID pandemic? Let's take a look.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken our economies and societies to the core and shown us how vulnerable we are to biological threats. In the digital world, similar risks are being overlooked right now. A cyber attack with COVID-like characteristics would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Its reproductive rate would be around 10 times greater than what we've experienced with the coronavirus. To give you an idea, one of the fastest worms in history, the 2003 Slammer sapphire worm, doubled in size approximately every 8.5 seconds, infecting over 75,000 devices in 10 minutes and almost 11 million devices in 24 hours. Fortunately, at least until now, cyber attacks have not impacted our health the way pandemics have, but the economic damages, and therefore the impact they have had on our daily lives, have been equal and sometimes even greater. You see, the only way to stop the exponential propagation of a COVID-like cyber threat is to fully disconnect the millions of vulnerable devices from one another and from the internet. All of this in a matter of days. A single day without the internet would cost our economies more than $50 billion, and that's before considering the economic and societal damages should these devices be linked to essential services such as transport or healthcare. As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world, the ripple effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding at a faster pace than what we're preparing for. COVID-19 was known as an anticipated risk. So is the digital equivalent. Let's be better prepared for that one. The time is now.
That was a pretty strong message to me. And let's break down what this means. Let me just go into text mode so it won't be as fuzzy. But what we have here is I don't know about you, but this COVID pandemic has changed so much in my life and everyone else's. Thinking a little bit about the digital pandemic that could occur. It won't kill people per se, but imagine we're so busy connecting everyone. We're all busy working virtually, and now we're gonna not have it? It's horrendous. But here's what's even more important, and that is coming back. Should these devices be linked to essential services? And of course, I include water in that, right? As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world, the ripple effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding and at a faster pace than what we are preparing for. And we've already seen this with the Colonial Pipeline in May, and also in the same month, the largest beef packer in the world was forced shut by a cyber attack. So we know it's there. So what does this mean for water? Because water is an essential infrastructure. And frankly, if water goes south, we got a real problem. Well, it means the central infrastructure is at risk. Imagine potential water system breakdowns. The good news is that decentralization will reduce the risk. People don't realize that when DARPA, the Defense Research Agency, originally created the internet in the 70s, it was a way to survive a nuclear war by having separated nodes. But in order to commercialize the internet, we connected all those nodes, we made it highly centralized. So we need to move back to that decentralization, both with the internet, but also here. Many points of water treatment will reduce the reliance on big central systems, which is why water demand is a strategic initiative to improve the safety of essential water services. So what it means really is that what we're doing here by working with people like Rod Turner to create this large capital pool to fund systems that people don't have to pay for up front, and they can just start paying for on a subscription basis. And they are not relying on the municipality. They're doing their own water treatment and their own water purification. It means that this will dramatically make the water infrastructure more safe. So I think that for me made me feel better about where things are going. Of course, we're all going to have to start thinking about, what if we were a week or two without power, internet, et cetera. And that is a separate conversation that you probably want to have with your family and get a generator and all that good stuff. But we here at Origin Clear, what we're thinking about is, okay, how is the water grid going to survive? And the water grid, of course, is these days is vulnerable to cyber attack, unfortunately. We've become technological, right? By decentralizing, we will reduce the risk. Okay, enough said about that. As I'm going to just wrap it up quickly by saying that your personal briefing is available from Ken Berenger, who is amazingly talented. We speak constantly about our initiatives. He is also who speaks to who the investors speak to. So I get a lot of feedback from investors from him, and also from Devin Angus, the amazing Devin Angus, and now Larry Judge, who's joined us in digital marketing. So we have a lot of feedback, of touch points with investors, and tell us what you think. But also, I want you to find out what options are available to you, both in these secured funds as well as the other general investing opportunities. So next week we will have the ability to play the cool little presentation that I made at World Water Week. They said it was a breath of fresh air. Let me tell you something. I love these people, but man, they're not Elon Musk. They just kind of, well, they talk in a very measured way, very reliable way. And we like to say that we put a little spice in it, in the soup. So that's kind of our part, and hopefully you'll enjoy that next week. So as we're moving into September, I just wanted to cover that we are very, very close to finally filing that second quarter filing. And as I keep saying, thanks to Prasad, our new CFO, Q3 is expected to be fully on time. So we're reducing the lag again. And this was the year of our equity systems being completely balled up, but that, thank God, is changing. A quick word from our partner, Ivan, who, by the way, his article in Forbes Argentina Online was printed in the magazine, and it gave heavy mention to us, which I thank Philanthropy Investors for. And he says, vegan foods need higher quality agriculture, and the Origin Clear systems can deliver better water to the agriculture as a foundation for good vegan food. And that's absolutely true. With that, I'm going to thank you all for being on board. It's been fantastic. Don't be a stranger. I want to see you next week. And I hope you had a little bit of insight today into what's happening with our funding partners and background. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the video so that Heather can catch up on the translation. Again, good night. Bob, we're not changing briefing times. What we're doing is organizing replays. I'll talk about that next week. Stefan Davis, great update. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good evening, and I'll see you next week.